Hi, everybody. Ezra Levant here. We're on the lunch break behind me, the Ottawa courthouse. I've got some astonishing news I've got to share with you. As you know, I'm here in Ottawa for the sentencing hearing of Tamara Lich and Chris Barber. They're the two, I would call them spiritual leaders of the trucker convoy in Ottawa, in this city, 2.5 years ago. It's incredible how long it's taken to get to this point. It's, I think, the 49th or 50th day of proceedings. It's really, the process has become the punishment. The question is, how much prison time, if any? What should the sentence be? All the case law suggests that a first-time offense for mischief that is peaceful in the form of a protest is 0 jail time. And there's dozens of cases about that. Typically Greenpeace, who's blocking some pipeline or some forestry project. If there's no violence, if it's a first-time offense, the judge either gives them a discharge or a suspended sentence or something like that. No one goes to prison in Canada for a first-time protest, even if they have broken the law. That's why it's so crazy that Doug Ford's sadistic prosecutors here are looking for 7 years in prison for Tamara Lich and 8 years for Chris Barber. That's what I'm here for. But let me tell you something, I've never heard it before. Never heard of it. And I asked Lawrence Greenspawn, the lawyer for Tamara Lich, I'll show you the footage in a second. So when it's all said and done, there's one last move that each side can play. On the prosecution, they put in what's called victim impact statements. It's just what it sounds like. Anyone who suffered at the hands of Tamara Lich or Chris Barber, they can write to the court and say, here's how this has harmed me. Now, obviously, no one's going to write such a letter because no one dealt with them. There wasn't a single witness who said they saw her dealt with Tamara Lich at all. It was just based on her saying things on Facebook. It's not like in a assault charge or a robbery where a victim can say, I was injured, to this day I have trouble walking or something. You can see how a victim impact statement works with a normal crime, but a charge of political mischief where there was actually no evidence of Tamara Lich doing anything, how do you get a victim impact statement? And of course, on the other side, letters of reference, character letters from the accused. So there was tons of letters about what Chris Barber and Tamara Lich did, gave people hope in the dark times, how they've done wonderful things in the community, how they're family people. So that's sort of the last card each side can play, the personal card. And there were hundreds and hundreds of things that the defense had. I mean, Tamara Lich is now a national hero, but here's the shocking thing. The prosecutors put in a bunch of victim impact statements. And remember what this trial is called. It's called the King versus Tamara Lich, the King versus Chris Barber. It's not the convoy that's on trial. It's two human beings that are on trial named Chris Barber and Tamara Lich. So what did they do? And a victim of theirs can write in. So what were these victim impact statements? They weren't people who had suffered at the hands of Tamara Lich or Chris Barber. In fact, many of them were not even written for this case. In fact, it came out in court that Paul Champ, the ambulance-chasing lawyer who's put together a class action lawsuit against the trucker convoy for $300 million, he's been preparing affidavits and letters for his money-making lawsuit of fortune. It's a completely different lawsuit. It's a civil claim. He's trying to get rich. He's trying to say that the truckers cost people money and can we get $300 million from them, please? Documents prepared by Paul Champ for that lawsuit somehow sneaked into the prosecutor's folder, and that was the bulk of the so-called victim impact statements given to the judge. Let me say that again. The victim impact statement is designed to say, well, what did Tamara Lich do to you? How did what Tamara Lich did to you, how did that make you suffer? Tell the court how you suffered at the hands of Tamara Lich. Most of these letters don't even name Tamara Lich or Chris Barber. One of them was in a different case altogether, someone named Pat King, a totally different case. There were affidavits prepared for this lawsuit of fortune. There were even some affidavits that were put into the public order investigation into the martial law of the Emergencies Act. Why was the prosecutor misleading or trying to mislead the court to make the court think that these were victim impact statements in this case? And how the hell does a ambulance chasing, money grubbing class action lawyer like Paul Champ get his work product, get what he's paid to do into this criminal action and before a judge? Is Paul Champ and his ambulance chasers working in cahoots with Doug Ford's sadistic prosecutors? Can I write something and have the prosecutor put it into? Who gets to do that? What else? What other confidences were shared? I've never seen something so outrageous in my life. Now, I'm sitting there in court and just stunned by this, and I'm tweeting about it, but then I go out afterwards, and there's Lawrence Greenspawn, the defense lawyer, possibly the most senior defense lawyer in Ottawa. I can't think of anyone more prestigious. And so I asked him the question twice. Here, look at what he said. Why were some of the victim impact statements about Tamara and Chris, if I heard correctly, they weren't actually about Tamara Lich and Chris Barber. They were from the $300 million class action suit.
That's right.
Can you explain how a class action suit, a for-profit civil action, could be commingled by the prosecutor for a criminal action? How did that happen? Was that disclosed to the court? How does Mr. Champ's litigation find its way into a government prosecution?
Well, I mean, I think those are really valid questions to be answered by the Crown. All I can say is when I got the victim impact statements, and it was clear on the face of, I think, 9 of the 12 of them, there was no mention of Tamara Lich and Chris Barber on the cover page of the victim impact statement. So that was my first concern. It then became evident when you started going through them that these documents were prepared for other proceedings, including POAC and including the class action. It was certainly my intention to raise the issue of the class action because that's a $300 million class action to which all of these residents in the downtown core, all of the businesses that say they've suffered, they're all going to be plaintiffs in that action. They're all going to be claiming their money damages in that class action. And Her Honor was well, became well aware of that. We provided the statement of claim. Yes, it's only a pleading, but it's also an outline of where counsel on behalf of those plaintiffs is intending to go.
Was there any deception, or was this made clear to the judge? Was it apparent that these were prepared by private lawyers suing for cash? Like, was there any indication, an asterisk or a footnote?
Well, I think if you look at the document, I mean, certainly the one for the City of Ottawa and the one for the police, it's clear on its face that this was prepared for some other proceeding. There's one victim impact statement that was clearly prepared for the Pat King case. There were, a number of them which had no indication of which case they were prepared for. So, I mean, all of that was pointed out to the judge.
What should happen to them now?
Well, you've already heard that Her Honor is how she intends to. She's going to review them, and she's going to give them the weight that she feels is appropriate.
He couldn't believe it. He can't understand it. How did an ambulance-chasing, for-profit shakedown artist like Paul Champ, who's trying to get $300 million for himself and his friends, how did his work product find its way into the Government of Ontario's official submissions to put Tamara Lich in prison? Did Paul Champ also come up with the 7-year prison term suggestion? What the hell is going on? Is Doug Ford in on this too? These are his prosecutors. What a total and utter disgrace. It's 1:22. We're reconvening in 45 minutes. I'm disgusted by what I saw in there today. There ought to be a Law Society complaint. And frankly, if this judge had more self-respect, she would be holding these prosecutors in contempt of court. I'll have more later.